heard the thunder rolled in from the clouds as the weather started to start. With flashes of lightning and the wind blowing harder, the horses began to gather. This boy was in awe over the beauty of these wild horses. Their spinning and their kicking seemed so powerful and graceful. He stood up and he began to imitate with his passion. Before him, his ancestors flashed a sight of what he should wear, with 2 large bursts of feathers on his back and horsehair attached to the tips to represent the long hair from the manes and tails of these horses. He added his spins and kicks, and he knew this vision was going to help inspire a new way of life, the beginning of a new way to allow us to remain who we are. This dance represents Baba, the promise of tomorrow. Was a very powerful gift. She could give life and she could take life. The woman, IcVMC, is the essence with the power that is like creator. Because she can carry a child, she holds the very key to the answers of this great power we call life. Just as our Mother Earth carries the water through her body that allows us to drink from, survive from, the woman also carries the blood memory of our ancestors and connects us to the Creator. Just as the teaching of balance, you cannot have one without the other. One cannot exist, for the other is the connection to even just being in existence. We must honor our little girls, sisters, aunts, mothers, and grandmothers. She is a warrior who holds the key to our very heart of our nation.
Bye. so pleased to have the Aboriginal School of Dance performing that special selection, Fancy Shawl and Fancy Bustle.
Thank you to the Aboriginal School of Dance. So amazing.
Yeah, really tight.
Good morning, Vincent Massey. Welcome to DIVERSIFY Celebration 2026. Today we're excited to share music, fashion, and stories that reflect the many cultures that make up our school. Vincent Massey isn't just one story. It's made up of different backgrounds, traditions, and experiences. And today is about celebrating that. Cultures show up in the way we speak, what we wear, the traditions we follow, and the art we create. It's something we carry with us every day, whether we realize it or not. So today isn't just about watching performances, it's about learning, appreciating, and respecting what makes each of us different. DIVERSIFY is more than an event. It's about recognizing where we come from, listening to each other's stories, and creating a space where everyone feels seen. So as you watch today's performances, we invite you to think about this question. What does DIVERSIFY mean to you?
As a UNESCO school, our job is to promote collaboration among the nations through education, science, and culture, and to further universal respect for justice, for the rule of law, and for human rights and fundamental freedoms which are affirmed to the people of the world, without distinction of race, sex, language, or religion. This event is all about embracing and uniting in the diversity that we have here at Massey.
We are pleased to share with you music, fashion, stories that represent some of the ethnic and cultural heritage of Vincent Massey. Culture is transmitted through language, material objects, rituals, institutions, and art. DIVERSIFY is what diversity to you. We have a very diverse group of talent that you will share in today, and some from your fellow schoolmates, but I know many of our talented Massey classmates did not join the show this year. We will talk about that later. We are going to start the show immediately. By greetings and land acknowledgements from Senior Miss Colin Roberts.
Hello, my name is Tori Patzer. I'm here with Colleen Roberts. I'm one of the Assistant Superintendents of Curriculum Assessment and Learning, and I will open with a land acknowledgement today. This is a personal land acknowledgement that represents my learning today, but will evolve as I learn. I live, learn, and work on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, Oji-Cree, Dene, and Dakota peoples, and in the birthplace of the national homeland of the Red River Métis. I also acknowledge that our hydro comes from Treaty 5 in northern Manitoba, and that Winnipeg's water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 to the east. Residential schools operated here, including Assiniboia Residential School in Winnipeg, and their legacy reminds us to honor survivors and the children who never came home. Colonial policies still impact Indigenous families and learners, and we must act differently. Guided by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, I commit to embedding Indigenous perspectives in curriculum, expanding language and land-based learning, sustaining roles for elders and knowledge keepers, and providing ongoing training for staff. I will also work with partners to improve outcomes for Indigenous students and keep children connected to family and community. These commitments are ongoing. I will keep listening, building relationships, and acting so our schools advance truth, healing, and justice, and in honor of my own husband, my children, and their family legacy. Merci.
Good morning, Vincent Massey, Institut Collegial, Vincent Massey Collegiate. What a pleasure it is to be here at Massey again for another DIVERSIFY gathering. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity. A special good morning to Madame Labossiere, Mrs. Smith, and Mrs. Miller. We're appreciating your leadership in this important work. It's my honor to bring greetings this morning from our senior admin team at Pembina Trail School Division. Shelley Amos, our superintendent, who's not able to join us this morning. But Mr. Troy Scott is with us this morning, Assistant Superintendent of HR and Equity in Education. And of course, my partner today, Tori Patzer, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Learning. I'm returning to Massey again, as I do almost every year. I owe a lot to this school, this staff, and this community. Our daughter graduated from Massey and has gone on to be captain in the Canadian Armed Forces. I served as vice principal at Massey for a number of years. I also was principal at General Byng and supported hundreds of students in their transition to this fine school. All of what I'm sharing with you fits for your theme for Diversify this year. This year the theme is perseverance. And as always, you have incredible themes for this celebration. A celebration that began years ago as a group of students with a special teacher created a vision for Black History Month. In their perseverance and visioning, they saw the absolute value of celebrating all cultures while acknowledging the perseverance and contribution of so many people from the Black community. That perseverance has paid off over many years. And today I wanted to shine a light on that teacher who gathered those students, wrapped around their energy and their ideas, and guided them with perseverance to what you see created here today. That teacher is Carol Stewart. Together with so many students, staff, and administrators, led the way with perseverance and strength. Carol and her daughter Rachel. Who I have affectionately nicknamed Rachel McAwesome for many years. They saw the vision and together with so many students and staff and administrators led the way with perseverance and strength. Perseverance means pushing forward, even when the path is difficult, even when you might hear a no or curiosity, and even when the challenge feels bigger than you are. Perseverance is found in generations of people who refused to give up, people who worked, marched, and studied, organized, created, and dreamed. They persevered, not just for themselves, but for future generations, including all of us, so we could have a greater voice, so we could have opportunities, greater freedom. It's that perseverance that lives in Carol and Rachel, and they share that gift with you today. Perseverance. May you enjoy and appreciate the message of today. Thank you all for listening and celebrating this important work.
Thank you for the land acknowledgement.
We would now like to welcome Jolly.
Hello. Good morning, Vincent Massey Collegiate. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you for your warm welcome and for inviting me to be part of your Diversify event. I bring greetings from the Board of Trustees of the Pembina Trail School Division, and we thank you for hosting and highlighting the importance of this day. Events like this matter, especially right now. In a world that often feels divided, creating space for inclusion, understanding, and belonging is essential. As a school trustee, I have seen how supportive and inclusive environments shape students' experiences. Every student deserves to feel seen, heard, and respected for who they are. Your creativity, talents, cultural expression, and curiosity all have value and they deserve space in our schools. Canada is strengthened by its diversity. Diversity is not simply about difference. It is about respect, acceptance, and community. It is about recognizing what makes each of us unique and allowing those differences to exist and be celebrated. I want to tell you, students, you belong here. I encourage you to continue expressing your identities through your traditions, art, storytelling, music, food, clothing, and culture. Do not allow anyone to dim your light or minimize who you are. Use your voice when something matters to you and support one another with kindness and respect within your classrooms, schools, families, and communities. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself briefly. I chose to run for school trustee in 2022 because I believe representation in leadership matters. As a retired educator, I wanted to remain involved in the school system and advocate for students whose voices are not always heard. I recognized a gap in representation and decided to step forward to serve the division where I live, raise my children, and where they attended and graduated from school. And Vincent Massey, you hold my heart, because that's where my 4 children graduated to start a young adult life. So thank you, Vincent Massey. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge Black History Month here in Manitoba. The 2026 theme, Rooted in Legacy, honoring a century of Black history, 45 years strong in Manitoba, reminds us of the deep and lasting contributions of Black communities in this province, across Canada and around the world. Black History Month gives us an opportunity to learn, reflect, and honor the contributions of Black people of African descent to Manitoba's social, cultural, political, and economic life. I encourage you students, I encourage you here today to continue learning and reading about this history, about this Black history, your Black history. And if you're not in that group, you could learn about it too to make our world better. So continue to learn and continue reading about our Black history and the pioneers who helped shape our communities, especially during this I Love to Read month. In closing, thank you for inviting me to be part of DIVERSIFY once again. It is an honor to be here, and I look forward to sharing this morning with you as we continue to celebrate diversity, promote inclusion, and strengthen our communities together. Thank you.
Sa huli, ang mga salita na binitawan ng iyong mga kalaban ay madaling makalimutan. Ngunit, ang pagiging tahimik ng iyong kaibigan ay isang mahapding alaala na hindi malilimutan.
到最後，我哋唔會記得敵人講嘅説話，只會記得朋友的沉默。
No fim, não vamos lembrar das palavras dos nossos inimigos, mas do silêncio dos nossos amigos.
Kego ika anishna biga, galitan damagat, diabetu joyan, minwanita din jinagwa, miga javani migwa, ninju chiba yiyan.
Nhiều khi con rati oro àwọn utawa ṣùgbọ́n rati òkùnkùn àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ wọn.
最後に私たちの記憶に残るのは敵の言葉ではなく友の沈黙である。
Wabu kudlong hari kitla rigopola mafuko atirat sarona me rikala gopola тини malo yakitsalata.
Ни одна культура не может существовать, если она пытается быть исключительной.
Жодна культура не може существувати, якщо пробує бути ексклюзивною.
Жодна культура не може вижити, якщо вона прагне бути виключеною.
最终，我们不会记住敌人的言语，而是朋友的沉默。
في النهاية لا نتذكر كلمات أعدائنا بل صمت أصدقائنا.
आखिर में हम अपने दुश्मनों की खामोशी याद रखेंगे और आखिर में हम अपने दोस्तों की खामोशी याद रखेंगे और दुश्मनों की बातें नहीं.
Στο τέλος θα θυμόμαστε όχι τα λόγια των εχθρών μας, αλλά τη θεομηνία των φίλων μας.
À la fin, nous ne nous souviendrons pas des paroles de nos ennemis, mais du silence de nos amis.
In the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends, by Martin Luther King Jr.
Throughout the show, we will share quotes in many of the various languages of the Massey community. But for now, let's welcome the Minister of Health, who is also the Honorable Deputy Premier Uzoma Asakura.
Hey, good morning everybody. How's everybody doing? You know I need more energy than that. Good morning, how's everybody doing? Absolutely awesome, awesome. Can we make some noise for the folks who are just on stage? They did a great job. I am so happy to join you all today. This is an incredible event. I've never been to an event quite like this. I think it's pretty phenomenal that you got Vincent Massey. Who here is from Shaftesbury? Because I know they're involved in this too. Can we make some noise for a school that's joining this school to make this event happen? That is so amazing. So I want to thank the incredible diversified teams. You folks are the best. It is just phenomenal that you have an event like this that's happening. Hi to the folks over here that I can't quite see, doing a great job. When I was in high school and I went to school at St. Norbert Collegiate just south of the city, we didn't have anything like this, so I am totally blown away by what I am looking at. I am looking at, outside of the bright lights that are trying to make it so that I can't see, but I can see here we've got a beautifully diverse crowd. I am looking at a room that looks like Manitoba, and that is incredible. That is something that you should all be very proud of. You have created a space that looks like our incredible province and represents one of our greatest strengths as one Manitoba, and that is our diversity. So make some noise for each and every one of yourselves for being here today at this incredible event. Welcome. You know, events like this don't happen by accident. They come from a place of vision, of understanding why it's so important, especially during a month like Black History Month, that we create the opportunity to learn about one another and celebrate what makes us who we are. You know, it's so important that we take a moment to recognize that there's so much more that connects us than there is that divides us, by far and away. It's so important to recognize that being unified in our diversity is what makes us really strong. And events like this do just that. You know, I'm really proud to be part of a government caucus our Manitoba NDP caucus, we have the most diverse, the most representative caucus in Manitoba's history. So when I look at this crowd, absolutely. When I look at this crowd, I think of our caucus. Our government right now in Manitoba looks like this crowd. Our government looks like the province that we serve and is led by this country's, in this province, we are led by our country's first First Nations Premier in Canada. And that is something that we should be proud of as Manitobans. And that is something we should be proud of. So I know your theme is perseverance, and I know that an event like this today doesn't happen without people who have persevered and overcome challenges in their own journeys, in their own lifetimes. And I know you've got two key organizers who I just had the pleasure of meeting. Where are they right now? Are they behind me here? Oh, they are. Yeah, can you come out here for a second? You? Yeah, you bet. There's two of you. Where's she? Where's she going? Where's your partner? In all things good. I won't say partner in crime. Where did she go? Oh, there she is. You just move out there a little bit. These two folks have worked so hard to make this event happen amongst a number of other students, diversified folks. Let's just show them a little bit of extra love. I just want to take a moment to lift you two up because moments like this gathering here today is about perseverance. It's about people who are doing a whole lot of other things and still showing up and making sure that spaces like this come together. So let's just show them some love. Thank you so much. So the last thing that I would say is this. We know, it doesn't matter what community you come from, every community has perseverance, every community has strength, every single community has something they can contribute to making our communities better. And when you put all that together in one place, there is so much good that comes from that. And I hope that you see today that you have this incredible opportunity to build relationships, to understand deeply what it means to be whoever it is you are and where you come from. And that building those relationships, understanding your friends, your community members, getting to know people you don't know very well, building those relationships is actually a fundamental part to how we persevere through life's challenges. It's a huge part of how we get access to really important and wonderful life-changing opportunities. You know, I wouldn't be here with you today if not people who persevered before me. I am one of the first 3 black MLAs ever elected in Manitoba's history in 2019. Black people and folks who are not black, who persevered to make our province a much more inclusive, welcoming place for every single person who resides within it. And so I know that my responsibility is like your responsibility. It's to keep paving that way forward so that we keep having incredible events like this. We keep making sure our province can break down barriers and open opportunities for all of its citizens. And I can't thank you enough for gathering here today and setting an example that other schools, that really all of us can learn from in terms of bringing people together and celebrating what makes us us. So congratulations on a phenomenal day already. I love the energy in here. You fired me up for the rest of my day and the rest of the week ahead. Have a great day, everybody.
A place in her heart. She is deeply grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this special event today. So please, let's welcome Miss Catherine Birch.
The last time I was on that stage was 1987 when I received my high school diploma. And so I just want to say that school, Massey is where I fell in love with learning and about the idea of a school. To me, it's always, a school is like a little city, full of stories and joy and love, and this song is about that.
Okay, wasn't that amazing? Thank you, Miss Birch.
어떤 문화도 배타적이 되려 한다면 살아남을 수 없다.
Kò sí àṣà tó lè wà láyé tó bá ń gbìyànjú láti ṣe àdáṣe.
Nenhuma cultura consegue ser exclusiva.
Walang kulturang mananatili ng layunin ang pangsarili.
لا يمكن لأي ثقافة أن تعيش إذا حاولت تكون منغلقة على نفسها.
Neer Gertien geoog as dit probeer om exclusief te
Справедливость восторжествует, пока те, кого это не затрагивает, не будут возмущены так же, как те, кого это касается.
Справедливость не станеться за дощ, поки który nie dotyczy i będzie tak tuczy, jak który nie dotyczy.
Справедливість не буде здійснена, доки того, кого це не стосується, не буде обурюватись само, які і того, кого це зачіпає.
任何试图排他性的文化都无法长久存在。
Gawin o ma IcVMC na ni kiwen kiga pakwewe shake. Wasai ganin ni gaiji kigen naswa.
任何文化欲試圖排外，都將走向滅亡。
どんな文化も排他的であろうとすれば生き残ることはできない。
Hahona setso sepe sese kaselan face lega hona selenos.
कोई दिखावटा जिंदा नहीं रह सकती अगर वो बस उसी करने की कोशिश करे।
Caminha a cultura apoclisme de Borena IcVMC.
Aucune culture ne peut vivre si elle tente d'être exclusive.
No culture can live if it attempts to be exclusive. Mahatma Gandhi.
All right, for now, let's welcome Ashman D to the stage to dance for us. So for now, we have Kaya. She's a special talent. So back in 2023, we had a super packed show, and Kaya didn't get to sing for her schoolmates, but in Kaya's final year at Massey, we made sure she had the opportunity. So please, let's
Wide shots, mid shots, and close up.
Ang sistema ng edukasyon na hindi namimili ng estado ng buhay, kulay, o sarian ay dapat hindi maging hadlang o balakid. Bagkus, dapat itong maghikayat at pagyamanin ang isang mag-aaral.
التعليم الشامل لا يجب أن يهددك أو يثبتك أو يثير مخاوفك. التعليم الشامل يجب أن يشاركك ويلهمك ويثيرك.
Инклюзивное образование никогда не должно угрожать, подавлять или вызывать у вас стресс. Инклюзивное образование должно вовлекать, вдохновлять и обогащать вас.
Едукація навчання не повинна ще загрожувати. Едукація, а не препараційна, повинна ангажувати, інспірувати і зберігати.
포용적 교육은 결코 당신을 위협하거나 약담시키거나 불안하게 해서는 안 된다.
포용적 교육은 당신을 참여하게 하고 영감을 주며 삶을 더 풍요롭게 해야 한다.
Інклюзивна освіта не повинна загрожувати, знеохочувати чи викликати у вас страху. Не має залучати, надихати та збагачувати вас.
包容性教育不应威胁你、打击你或让你不安，包容性教育应当吸引你、激励你，并使你受益。
A educação inclusiva nunca deveria ameaçar, desmotivar ou causar medo. Ela deveria envolver, inspirar e enriquecer as pessoas.
全立教育唔應該令你感到威脅、沮喪或者被冒犯，反而應該吸引你、激勵你同豐富你。Tuto akaracan, hai aswanela, ho tosetsa, ho koba marapokosa, ho teretsa. Tuto akaracan pode exponense, ho ama, ho setletsa, le ho misa.
インクルーシブ教育はあなたを脅したり落ち込ませたり傷つけたりするものであってはならない。インクルーシブ教育はあなたを引きつけ刺激し豊かにするものであるべきだ。
जमा तालीम को कभी भी आपको धमकाना नहीं चाहिए, बल्कि जमा तालीम को आपको उसकी जमा तालीम को हिफाजत करनी चाहिए।
Isiberilicki ekpediosiden ine amedohi, emlefsi anatexi.
L'éducation inclusive ne devrait jamais faire peur, encourager ou diviser. Elle devrait rassembler, inspirer et permettre à chacun de trouver sa place.
Inclusive education should never threaten, discourage, or trigger. Inclusive education should engage and inspire and enrich you. T.Y. Howard. Coming up next, we have the Slovenian Dance Assembly, Shringla. They have performed throughout the world at a variety of festivals and performed every year at the Slovenian Volkarama. Today they will be performing dances from the Brusnav province, which is where the wealthy nobles live. Put up for them.
God, those were amazing dance moves. We now have Rahim with Baba. He is originally from Mauritania. He's an immigrant who has lived in Manitoba since 2003. His personal and professional journey illustrates the challenges and opportunities faced by many immigrants in Canada. Having settled in Manitoba as a newcomer, he has worked within the Manitoba education system as a teacher, consultant, university instructor, and institutional leader.
Holding a PhD in education from the University of Manitoba, he is particularly interested in the issues of inclusion, identity, success for students and teachers. From immigrant backgrounds, he currently holds a leadership position at the Manitoba Teachers Society. Drawing on his experience as an immigrant, he actively contributes to the development of education, the promotion of cultural diversity, and the building of bridges between communities. Both in Manitoba and internationally, let's give our full attention to Mr. Rahim Baba, and let's listen with curiosity.
Can't see the wall. Is that done on purpose? Good morning. Bonjour. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing, Institut Collegial Vincent Massey Collegiate? I'm here to talk to you about perseverance, not the kind you see on movies, the kind that we live every day in our lives. And it's particularly important on a day when we celebrate diversity. And as Deputy Premier Uzoma said earlier today, Vincent Massey, you should be proud of organizing a day like this. This is really how the society and how we should be every day. I see myself in the school to the point where I felt comfortable today wearing my traditional clothes. And so I'm from Mauritania, and for those of you who know, Mauritania is in Northwest Africa. And this clothes says a lot about Mauritania. This is a mixture of North African clothes and West Africa clothes. So I will talk to you, share with you more about myself later. Before I start, let me ask you this question. Everyone, have you raised your hand if you ever wanted to give up? And I can't see the hands. Whether it's on a project, on school, on a dream, on anything. Well, you're not alone. And that's where perseverance starts. It's when we feel that we just want to give up. What is perseverance? Perseverance doesn't mean that you're the strongest or the smartest person in the room. Perseverance means that when everything looks difficult, uncomfortable, that you kept going. You decided to keep going. And it's not about that you do it on yourself, in silence. It means that you fail, and that doesn't you decide that's not stopping me from keeping going. And sometimes you doubt yourself. Am I good enough for this? Does my background, or should my background prevent me from pursuing my dreams? I remember our own premier. I remember when he was running for the NDP leadership and how in the media people were talking about his past and his previous life. At that point, I can tell you that if you're not perseverant, if you're not strong, you would have given up. It seemed so unsurmountable at that point, but what did he do? He kept going. He didn't win the first time. He ended up winning, and that is an example, a living example for us in Manitoba, and an inspiring case that we can all look at when we go through those moments, that we just need to keep going. And Nelson Mandela used to say that it always seems impossible until it's done. So those small steps, keeping going, and having one thing on side as a goal is to get to that point despite the difficulties on the roads. In 2003, I came here in Winnipeg in April, and coming from Mauritania. Mauritania, 2/3 of it is on the Sahara Desert. That's the winter there, the maximum gets, the lowest is probably plus 15, plus 20, and in the summer it gets all the way to plus 45, sometimes 50. You can imagine someone coming here from that environment and having to go through Manitoba winter. My first year, I was working in a small town called Saint-Lazare. It's on the border with Saskatchewan. My oldest son was born closer than Brandon, Manitoba. I found myself, at that time it was only me, I found myself, I was the only person in town who is not from the town. I remember the first day, in the morning I went to school, and in the afternoon I was walking on the main street to do my groceries, and the person who was working at the postal office called me with my first name. Bonjour, Monsieur Ibrahim. And his son works at the school. So the fact that I was here, everyone in town, in the small town, knew. And that was the first connection with the town. I come from a country where I grew up in a small town where everyone knew everyone. Everyone was cousin with everyone. And in a francophone, in a French town in Manitoba, I was able to see that as well. So when you come, as you can imagine, I spoke French. My English wasn't that good at that time. And I was able to work with my French, and I was working on my English. And I can tell you, my goal was to go to UFM and to do it. So I had to go through, you guys probably don't know what this means, but like TOEFL. That's like a test to show your proficiency in English to go to university. So you don't probably need to do this having done schools here. But that's one struggle that you need to go through. I came here with a master in physics from France, and I had to go through the credentials, equivalency, and submit papers, contact universities back in France and back in Mauritania to get all my transcripts sent here. And despite all of that, I kept going. I did my Bachelor of Education at Université de Saint-Boniface to become a teacher. I taught many years, both in Winnipeg and in rural Manitoba. And so when you go through all of that, you keep reminding yourself, why did I come here? Why did I want to do all of this? What's my goal? And when you have that clarity, all the small challenges become just details. And you just live through them and you keep going. And a coach here for you, failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Failure is feedback. You learn as much from your failure when you fail, when you struggle, than you learn from your own success. Throughout all of that, I needed to keep going. I needed to show up every day. I didn't need to be perfect. I knew that. And I kept pursuing my goal. After that, after I taught many years in high school as a math and physics teacher, I decided, I had at that time one goal. My profession, I wanted to do my PhD in education. And so when I applied for UFM, I wasn't the typical applicant for PhD in education. They expect you to have a Bachelor of Education, teach for many years, then do your Master in Education, and then go to a PhD. I didn't have Master in Education. I had Master in Physics. So I said, I'm going to try this. So I applied straight to PhD in Education. So they told me, we see that you have a Master, we see that you have done some research, but it wasn't in education. So we're not accepting you right away. We want kind of to see what you're able of. So they put me on the test. They wanted me to take some 7,000 courses, so those are master and PhD level courses in education. And they wanted me to see, they wanted to see how I would perform. At that time, I could have just given up. That was the same year I had my second son, and I was starting a new job. And then became this. So at that point, I could have just given up. This is too much. I have a lot of things to go through. I don't need this more source of struggle. But I kept going, and I did those courses that year. I was successful, and so the following spring, they sent me my official admission to the PhD, and that was 2014. I completed that in 2020. When we talk about perseverance, diversity becomes really, we need to think about that. It's especially on a day like this and in a school like Vincent Massey. Mahatma Gandhi used to say, our ability to reach unity in diversity will be the beauty and the test of our civilization. And I can tell you, this speaks to our reality, unfortunately, in the world. The news we hear from the south, the neighboring state of Minnesota, and a lot of what's going around the world make us think about the perseverance in our diversity and how we need to see our diversity as a source of strength and not the opposite. And we don't. Another thing about diversity, when we talk about perseverance, is we should acknowledge as peers, as staff, as leadership, that we don't start from the same place. Some students and some staff come to school every day and they go through a lot in their personal lives that they don't want to share necessarily. They don't want it to be seen or noticed. The fact that they show up every day is their perseverance. So we need to acknowledge that quite student or staff member who is there because they need to be there, we need to think about that, and that's their perseverance. Showing up every day to school or to work, that's their perseverance, and it's really important that we acknowledge that, both as staff and as peers, and to be kind to them. Being kind is something sometimes people oversee, sometimes people, it's too simplistic. Believe me, being kind, if a person, I always say this, if a person doesn't have in their heart and in the way they are some part of kindness, of being kind, that's really difficult. And that's really, so we need in every one of us to be kind and to show that kindness and to think about people in our entourage who may be going through a lot, and being kind to them makes a huge difference. Whether that's a friend, whether that's a student, whether that's a colleague, that's really important. When we think about perseverance and the struggles we go through in life, we typically think about the iceberg model. We only see part of it. The rest, the big part, is hidden. Hidden because people don't want to show it, hidden because it's, we think, when we are in the world of diversity, we talk a lot about code switching. People who at work, they need to show or to come as and show a part of who they are. At home, they show another part of who they are. With friends, they show another part of who they are. And the ultimate goal, when we talk about creating safe and inclusive schools and workplaces, we want to get to a point where everyone, when they come to work, when they come to school, feel that they can be who they truly are. That they don't need to give up anything of who they are to fit in, or to be at school, or to be at work. So imagine we get to a point where people don't need to code switch, or don't need to leave part of who they are to be at work or to be at school. So that's really, we need to keep thinking about that model, that what we see is just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, so at some point, we all go through this. And this is part of the perseverance, is at some point we feel I'm just giving up. I told you about that example about my PhD and what kept me going. Think about or remember why you started. Sometimes it's a personal motivation. Sometimes it's that good friend or good teacher or good colleague would keep pushing you and encouraging you and be there for you to keep going. So that is really important, and we all need that person. So you find yourself at a crossroad where you can keep going or you can give up. And you keep going because you remember why you started. Perseverance, again, it's not about going through all of that by yourself. Asking for help is strength. It's not that, it shouldn't be seen otherwise. So you shouldn't go through all of that alone. You need to have some in your life who you can talk to, colleagues, friends, teachers, counselors, school leaders for you, and you need to have that. Asking for help, again, is strength. It's not seen as weakness to that. So feel free and identify the key people that you need in your life to reach out to. One of my favorite books, it's one of the bestsellers in the last couple of years, Atomic Habits. This remembers me of my mother. My mother used to say in Arabic, الدوام ولو قل. The consistency, even if it's small. So this is the idea of this book. When I first read it, I thought about, I said, this is, my wife, my mother could have written this book. She kept reminding us, it's one of the things that she kept reminding us of. Keep doing, being consistent. We talk about this about our own finance. Start saving as early as possible. Put whatever you can put aside for it to build up. And so 3 ways to persevere. Redefine failure. As I said earlier, failing is feedback. That gives you some feedback about your strength, about where you should go, about things that you need probably to adjust or change. So that's how we should see or redefine failure. Find that one person in your life that you can rely on, that and you can share with them whatever you go through, and you know that they will always be there for you. Whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, a colleague, someone, a leader, someone you can really trust, and you know that they will be there for you no matter what. And focus on progress, not perfection. You will never be at a point where everything around you or in your life looks perfect. Like, believe me, once you're done with study, family probably, then it will be about family. It will be about career. It will be about something. When I was a classroom teacher, the difference we make in the life of our students. That tap on the shoulder, that helping them work on their potential. Like days like this. And the leadership opportunity that is given to the students here. I was talking with the assistant so earlier about how this is important. The skills developed through organizing days like this probably will help you more than any other thing you learn in school. So creating opportunities like this for people to show their talent in dance, in singing, in organizing events, all of that. Those opportunities given in school to students make them stronger, and it's part of their learning. Now, again, for your own thinking, think about one thing that you will never give up on. Identify that, think about it, it's yours. We're not asking you to share it. Think about it, and think about what we said about perseverance, and think about how you will keep that in mind. Remember why you have that. Remember why every time you go through a struggle, keep that in mind. I will share with you a story about identity and about how I grew up and how I see multiculturalism and diversity. As I said, Mauritania is defined by some as a bridge between the Arab world and the Sub-Sahara Africa. And actually, I grew up with Arabs, with Pula, Soneke, Wolof, and people that I went to school with them. At some point here in Winnipeg, really to understand my identity and who really Mauritanians are, former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien used to say, a true liberal is someone who the left think they're too much on the right and the right think they're too far on the left. So the liberals always wanted to position themselves as the center. So the same thing like in Mauritania. It's too Arab for the Africans and too Africans for the Arabs. And at some point here, I realized that any of you probably from African or Caribbean descent know Dinos on Notre Dame. Like that's another thing about English. Like when I came here and I had to read Notre Dame, I spoke French. I had to say Notre Dame. So on Notre Dame, when I came here, and it was one of the first diversity or community food place that I went to get ingredients to make one of the Mauritanian favorite dishes, cheboujen, rice with fish. If you're here from Senegal or Mali, cheboujen is Mauritanian as well. Don't think it's only yours. And so to me, that was natural. When my wife came later, same thing. We used to go as much as we go to Middle Eastern stores that sell Middle Eastern food. And later, 7 or 8 years ago, a friend of mine from Egypt, we were talking, she has a restaurant, and we were talking about the food here and how we went from one on Maryland and the Genos, in my mind, Genos was the second one, to now we have 20 probably of them. And she was counting, and she didn't include Genos. I said, how about Genos? She said, oh no, that's for people from Africa. I said, wow. That's really who I am, as much from West Africa as from North Africa. And that's really important, and that shapes my view of the world. It's always plural. The closing message that I really want to leave you with is, think about where you are now will not, or is not, where you will end up. And that really helps you to keep going and to persevere in your life. Think about where you want to go, and that where you are now is not. Yes, yeah. Look, the timeliness of that. Thank you so much, Mr. Massey. I'm really grateful to be here.
Next performer is Harry and Kashfi for dancing. They put a lot of time and effort into preparing for today. So let's make some noise for Harry and Kashfi.
Thank you. सजा के रखना मेहंदी लगा के रखना डोली सजा के रखना लेने तुझे गोरी आएंगे तेरे सजना मेहंदी लगा के रखना डोली सजा के रखना
Thank you for those amazing dance moves.
Andrew joining us on stage and smooth cricket by
for a smooth criminal, I think you just stole the show.
Разнообразие – это факт, а инклюзиация – это действие.
Знаменитость – это факт, а инклюзия – это идея.
Možnost je spáchom, členy do aktivizmu.
Like you had seen, Nick, meanwhile, Maswa, Yogo, and Mino Puna, Yana, the Lung Kayes, Kushida, and
Geertig zal niet doen worden totdat diegene wat niet krijgt wordt net zo waardig is zoals diegene wat.
唯有當未受影響嘅人都同受害者一樣憤怒，正義先至會得到真正嘅伸張。
A justiça só será alcançada quando aqueles que não são diretamente afetados ficarem tão indignados quanto aqueles que são.
正義は当事者でない人々が当事者と同じくらい怒りを覚えるようになるまで実現しない。
정의는 부당함의 영향을 받지 않는 사람들까지도 영향을 받는 사람들만큼 분노할 때 비로소 실현된다.
Dia bisa hai kitla edirwa ko fitla baba se ameran ba gal fire fela jaka baba ameran.
只有当会受影响的人和受影响的人一样愤怒时，正义才会真正得到伸张。
Idade o mulher que finalmente coba nem com cochete nem o filho que tinha ontem com chesse.
Walang katarungan ang makakamit hanggang ang mga nasa taas ay naging biktima at naging apel.
इंसाफ उस वक्त तक नहीं मिल सकता जब तक वो लोग जो मुतसल्लिम नहीं हैं उतना गुस्सा हों उन लोगों की तरह जितना है मुतसल्लिम.
이스티켜스티니 에르케테 오타니 아메도키 아야나팀 또 이지.
La justice ne serait pas rendue tant que ceux qui ne sont pas touchés ne seraient pas aussi indignés que ceux qui le sont.
Justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are, by Benjamin Franklin.
Now, students from the Filipino Club are doing a tinkling dance to the song Coming Home by DIVERSIFY. Tinkling is the traditional folk dance of the Philippines where dancers mimic the swift movement of the tickling bird, dodging through bamboo transformer setup. The dance originates from the Visayan Islands during the Spanish colonial era, and it involved at least two fighting and hitting bamboo poles to the beat of the music, and at least one dancer avoiding the poles by hopping, jumping, and turning.
Don't worry about it. Just do it whenever. Reset so everyone's consistent.
Just
Mr. Diversify Club over at Shaftesbury. So let's give it up for a massive welcome to Praise and Zion.
Thank you, Shaftesbury Diversified Team. That was amazing.
We're going to do something different from past years. We're going to take a deeper look at our quotes for Diversify 2026.
That's right, Mara.
In the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the sounds of our friends. I want you guys to think of think to yourself of times of need when you were at your lowest and you think you can't go lower, and someone comes and makes you feel lower than rock bottom. And you remember the words people said to promise to help you in times of need. No one shows up. It's the words that make up. It's not the words that make up who you are, it's the actions of you. Inclusive education should never threaten, discourage, or trigger you. Inclusive education should engage, inspire, and enrich you. Ask yourselves as students, have you felt excluded? Have you had to do something or say something that is not what you think or believe for a grade? Or to not get on your teacher's bad side? That is the opposite of what school should be doing. We come to school to be educated, better ourselves. We shouldn't be smothering our minds with fake beliefs and things we can't say but keep in our minds. And ask yourselves as teachers, are you doing this? Are you being exclusive? Are you a role model?
That's my man.
Justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are. If you're trying to make a change, and we as people are on a mission of trying to make a world a better place for everyone, unprivileged people trying to make themselves see by their actions and not a stereotype or a country's actions, are you using your privilege for the better and good, whether in school, in the grocery store, or even on a sports team, for the worse, not even using your gift of being privileged and just being a bystander? That makes you no better than someone who you might call out for not changing the law that can help people, and you get mad at for that person with privilege, and you can say, how can you say you're better than them when you yourself do the same? Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is a little voice at the end of the day that says, I'll try again tomorrow. I think, in my point of view, this shows the differences of a person who thinks every day has to be their day, and when they get put down, they stay down. The person who knows every day is not going to be their day, and when they get put down, they don't stay down, they get up. Those are the people who are going to make the changes. Diversity is a fact, inclusion is an act. The definition of diversity, variety. It is without a doubt that we as a Massey community are diverse. There are so many people from different ethnic backgrounds and different cultures within the school. But the question we must ask ourselves as staff and students, are we inclusive? The definition of inclusion is the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized. The action of including others within a group or structure, so based on this definition, is what do you think as a school community? Are we inclusive? Do we knowingly or unknowingly discriminate against people because of their color, their skin, or ethnic background? Do we separate ourselves from others because they do not look the same as ourselves, are not from the same culture or background? Do you label that student of a color, a thug, because of preconceived ideas you have placed on that individual? But do you do that? This year, we have a smaller than usual representation of cultural attire joining us on stage. We are grateful for those who turn microphones over.
That would make this car just disappeared. Would be like other Saturday. Smooth crowd. Turn towards the crowd.
Okay, and now we have the amazing fashion show. So let's give it up for all the people. India! Let's give it up for India!
events. He's an internationally known world-class First Nation performer. Born and raised in Winnipeg, Shanley is Anishinaabe from Lake St. Martin First Nation and Inuit Cree. As a member of Métis Colomb Free Nation, Shanley began dancing at the age of 3 and started her hoop dancing career at the age of 13. Having performed at a variety of nationwide and international events, institution, conference, and workshops. Shanley has even shared the stage with the likes of a tribe called Red, Nelly Furtado, Mohawk DJ Shub, Boogie the Beat, and many others. As a strong advocate, Shanley's community involvement has earned her many awards and accolades, including a top 40 under 40 Manitoba Award in 2017 and a Manitoba Youth Achievement Award for the artistic performance. dance moves. Moreover, they do tell us. Ladies and gentlemen, Filipinos and all who are world known for your dancing. Thank you for making the time to join us and share that amazing performance. Next up is Ryan. You know what?
I think I should change it.
You know what? I heard he has...
some great MVPs. Margaret is a community leader and cultural ambassador. Margaret is an active member of Winnipeg's Caribbean and Black communities, passionate about preserving. Welcome, Margaret!
My camera died at the last second. The performance ended, and then 5 seconds later it died. That was actually the camera held it as long as it could. Oh my gosh. What do we do now?
We're gonna go to the room and have lunch, but you gotta wait for this one.
I think my camera will last until then. The problem for it is because it's just so flexible.
Maybe just keep a one shot on it, like don't wait it out, because we're gonna definitely use yours. This last one. Maybe Gina's first.
I'll keep it like this. I'll keep it like this.
I have another second. Then my camera dies. Like after
You can zoom in a little bit more. There's got a lot of headroom up there, right? There you go, a little bit more. Perfect. And then this place, no headroom. Pull the headroom down a bit. You know what headroom is? It means like, yeah. You know? My other SD card. Make sure your first one is. You know where your first one is, and you know where your second one is. We're gonna go up to my room.
My second one's in here. My first one's in that camera. That's brought.
As long as you go upstairs, go to Memphis.
So do you want me to just keep it in there? Okay, alright. Just leave that camera be then.
Good afternoon. Hello? We are Junior Drummers, and we're here to bring you part of our African culture. that sometimes we have bad days and things might not go as well as we want. But we want you to be a part of this song, to be able to sing it with us, because we know that you know it. It says, don't worry about the thing. Everything is going to be all right.
Don't worry about the thing. Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Right, don't worry about the thing. Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Wake up this morning, smile at the right thing. We get the birds in my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melodies pure and true.